You're looking at your 401k statement, Saturday morning, coffee in hand. And there's this specific thing that happens when you look at that number. You do math you didn't plan to do. You're 34 years old. You've been contributing for 8 years. The balance shows $47,200. And you're doing the math. If you keep contributing $400 monthly for the next 31 years until you're 65, at 7% returns, that'll be about $680,000. Add Social Security, maybe $24,000 annually. At 4% withdrawal, that's $27,200 from the 401k plus $24,000 from Social Security. Total, $51,200 annually in retirement. You're making $67,000 now. Your retirement income will be $51,200. That's a 24% reduction in nominal terms. And you're thinking, that should be okay. I'll spend less in retirement. No commute, no work expenses. Should be fine. But here's what you're not calculating. Inflation over 31 years, healthcare costs in retirement, the fact that your mortgage won't be paid off, the reality that $51,200 in 2057 will have the purchasing power of about $19,000 today. You're contributing to your 401k like you're supposed to, following the advice, doing everything right, and you're on track for poverty-level retirement income in real purchasing power terms. My name's Peter, and if you've ever looked at your 401k balance and wondered if it'll actually be enough, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because the 401k system was never designed to be the primary retirement vehicle for the middle class, and most people are discovering that too late. So let's start with what a typical 401k trajectory actually looks like when you run real numbers. You're 27 years old, starting salary $52,000. You contribute 6% to get the company match. That's $3,120 annually. Company matches 3%, $1,560. Total annual contribution, $4,680. You do this for 38 years until you're 65. You get raises of 3% annually, your contributions increase proportionally. At 7% average returns, which is optimistic given fees and market volatility, here's what you end up with. Total 401k balance at 65, $842,000. That sounds substantial. That sounds like you did well. You saved for 38 years and accumulated $842,000. But here's what that actually means for your retirement. At 4% safe withdrawal rate, $33,680 annually, plus Social Security, $24,000 annually. Total retirement income, $57,680. After 38 years, that's the number. Your final working salary at 65, after 3% annual raises, $152,000. Your retirement income, $57,680. That's a 62% reduction from your final salary, and that's in nominal terms. In real purchasing power after 38 years of inflation, that $57,680 will feel like about $21,000 in today's money. You worked for 38 years, you saved responsibly, you followed the plan, and your retirement income in today's purchasing power is $21,000 annually. That's not retirement, I don't know how else to say this. That's poverty with a 401k label on it. Most people think contributing to your 401k is enough. Get the company match, save 10-15% of your income, let compound growth do the work, retire comfortably. That's not how it works. That's the trap. Here's what actually happens with middle-class 401k contributions in 2026's economy. You're making $64,000. You contribute 8%, $5,120 annually. Company matches 4%, $2,560. Total, $7,680 annually. But here's the problem. Your fixed expenses in 2026 are eating 82% of your after-tax income. You've got maybe $650 monthly discretionary after rent, car payment, student loans, insurance, groceries, utilities. So you're contributing $640 monthly to your 401k while living on $650 monthly discretionary. One unexpected expense, car repair, medical bill, anything,
and you're going into debt. You're sacrificing current financial stability to fund future retirement. And the math says that future retirement will still be inadequate. But you keep contributing because you're supposed to, because that's the plan, because you don't have a better option. And here's where it gets brutal. Even if you increase your contribution to 15% of income, the math barely improves. 15% contribution on $64,000, $9,600 annually plus match. Over 35 years at 7%, $1,150,000. At 4% withdrawal, $46,000 annually, plus Social Security, $24,000. Total, $70,000. You sacrificed 15% of your income for 35 years, and your retirement income is still 30% below your working income in nominal terms, 60% below in real purchasing power. The 401k system wasn't designed to be sufficient. It was designed to supplement pensions. But pensions disappeared, and 401ks became the default retirement vehicle without being adequate for that role. And here's the mechanism that makes this crisis inevitable. The contribution limit combined with the consumption floor. The 401k contribution limit in 2026 is $23,000 annually. If you max it out every year for 35 years at 7%, you get about $3,350,000. At 4% withdrawal, that's $134,000 annually in retirement. Which, okay, that actually does sound great. But here's the catch. Maxing out a 401k requires contributing $23,000 annually. And if you're making $65,000, your after-tax income is $48,000. Maxing out would take 48% of your after-tax income. Your consumption floor, housing, food, transportation, healthcare, basic middle-class life, is about $42,000 annually. You have $6,000 margin. You can contribute $6,000, not $23,000. The system's contribution limit is designed for people making $150,000 plus. For middle-class earners, the cap is irrelevant because the consumption floor makes it impossible to contribute enough. And this creates a retirement crisis. The people who need 401ks most can't contribute enough to make them work. The people who can max them out don't need them as urgently because they have other income sources. The 401k is a retirement vehicle for the upper middle class, accidentally marketed as the solution for everyone. That's it. That's the whole problem.
There's a specific psychological trap that keeps people from seeing this reality. It's called the nominal number illusion combined with temporal discounting. You see your 401k balance, $47,200. You're 34. You projected forward, $680,000 at 65. And your brain says, $680,000 is a lot of money. That sounds like wealth. I'm doing okay. But your brain is processing the number without properly adjusting for inflation and time value. $680,000 in 31 years isn't $680,000 today. It's roughly $250,000 in current purchasing power. And $250,000 isn't a retirement fund. It's 7 to 8 years of current middle-class spending, and you need that to last 25 to 30 years. But the nominal number, $680,000, feels big. So you keep contributing your $400 monthly and tell yourself you're on track. Meanwhile, the actual math says you're not on track. You're accumulating something, but it's not enough. And by the time you realize it at 55 or 60, it's too late to significantly change the outcome. And this is why temporal discounting is so dangerous. Retirement is 30 years away. Your brain discounts future problems. The immediate need to pay rent matters more than the distant problem of inadequate retirement savings. So you underfund retirement because current expenses feel more urgent, and you tell yourself you'll increase contributions later when you're making more. Except later, you're making more and spending more. Your margin stays roughly constant, and you never actually increase contributions meaningfully. So let me show you two people. Same income, same career, different strategy. The first person takes the 401k only approach. They contribute $7,000 annually from 28 to 65, get a match of $3,500, total contribution $10,500 annually over 37 years at 7%, $2,050,000 accumulated. At 4% withdrawal, $82,000 annually, plus Social Security $24,000,
Total $106,000 annually. They retire at 65. Life expectancy 85. They need 20 years of income. Total needed $2,120,000 in nominal terms, $3,450,000 adjusted for inflation in retirement. Their 401k and Social Security provide $2,120,000 over 20 years in nominal terms. They're short about $1 million in real purchasing power. At 75, they're running out of money. They start making difficult choices. Move to cheaper housing, cut back on everything, maybe move in with family. The retirement they planned for 37 years doesn't materialize. Now, the second person, diversified approach. They contribute $5,000 annually to a 401k to get a partial match. They put $3,000 annually into a Roth IRA. They keep housing costs minimal and pay off their house by 55. They build $200,000 in taxable investments by 62. At 62, they've got 401k, $975,000, Roth IRA, $550,000, taxable, $280,000, and a paid-off house, no $1,800 monthly housing payment in retirement. Their spending need in retirement, $48,000 instead of $66,000 because of no housing payment. Their 401k withdrawal, $39,000, Social Security, $24,000, Roth, $22,000 tax-free annually until depleted. Total income, $85,000 initially, $63,000 after Roth is exhausted. They make it to 85 with margin. The paid-off house alone saved them $432,000 over 20 years of retirement. Same total amount saved, different strategy. Completely different outcome.
You're lying in bed, Thursday night, 2 a.m. Phone face down on the nightstand because you told yourself you were going to sleep an hour ago. You're 42 years old. You've got $92,000 in your 401k. You just ran a retirement calculator online. It says you're on track, but you're thinking about the numbers. You'll have maybe $950,000 by 65. That's $38,000 annually withdrawal, plus Social Security, maybe $67,000 total. You're making $73,000 now. Your retirement will be $67,000 in future dollars, which is like $25,000 today. And that tightness in your chest? It's not about being ungrateful for having $92,000 saved. It's about the math. You did what you were supposed to do. You contributed consistently. You got the match. You followed the advice. And the advice is leading you toward inadequate retirement income. And you're realizing this at 42, when you've still got time to adjust, but not enough time to completely fix it through 401k contributions alone. So here's how people who actually build adequate retirement security think about it differently in 2026. They see 401k as one piece, not the whole solution. They contribute enough to get the full match, that's free money, but they don't dump 15% of their income into it thinking that alone will be sufficient. The first thing they do differently, and this one surprises people, is they obsess over the house, not buying a bigger one, paying off the one they have. A paid-off house reduces their retirement spending need by $18,000 to $30,000 annually. That's equivalent to having $450,000 to $750,000 more in retirement savings. They build taxable investment accounts alongside their 401k, money they can access before 59.5 without penalties, money that gives them flexibility to retire early or bridge gaps. They invest in Roth IRAs for tax diversification, so they're not entirely dependent on tax-deferred 401k withdrawals that get taxed as ordinary income. They think about retirement not as accumulate a number in my 401k, but as build multiple income sources and minimize fixed expenses. Completely different framework. While most people optimize their 401k contribution percentage, they optimize their retirement cost structure. They'd rather have $600,000 in retirement savings and no housing payment than $950,000 in $1,800 monthly rent payment. This doesn't make you wealthy. It doesn't solve every problem. But what changes is simple. You stop treating the 401k as the whole answer and start building around it. The house, the Roth, the taxable account. Not because it's glamorous, because the math requires it. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not saying don't contribute to your 401k. The match is free money. Tax deferral has value. It should be part of your strategy. But if you're contributing 10 to 15% of your income to your 401k, thinking that alone will create comfortable retirement, the math says it won't. Not at middle-class income levels with 2026 cost structures. And most people don't realize this until they're 58 to 62, when they start seriously looking at retirement and discovering their 401k isn't going to be enough. And by then, there's not enough time to build the other pieces. So here's the thing about why your 401k won't save you. It was never designed to be the sole retirement vehicle. It was designed in 1978 to supplement pensions as a tax-deferred savings option. Then pensions disappeared throughout the 1980s and 1990s, and 401ks became the default retirement plan. But they were never engineered for that role. The contribution limits, the tax structure, the withdrawal rules, all designed for supplemental savings, not primary retirement funding. Most people are contributing to 401ks under the belief that this vehicle alone will provide comfortable retirement, and the math clearly shows it won't at middle-class contribution levels with middle-class life expectancies and inflation rates. You can spend 40 years contributing to your 401k and retire with inadequate income, or you can spend 40 years building a retirement strategy that includes the 401k, plus paid-off housing, plus other investments, plus reduced retirement expenses. The 401k is a tool, not a solution, and nobody told you that, which is the part that actually stings. Confusing those two is how millions of middle-class Americans are heading toward retirement poverty despite following the advice they were given.